I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys and say right now, I am exhausted watching the Sacramento Kings play basketball because it was just 10 days ago where I made a silly little YouTube video on this channel talking about how I think it's time for the Sacramento Kings to start their rebuild. The team was just deep in the gutter, not only record-wise, but they of course broke the news that they were firing head coach Mike Brown, the guy that took them to the promised land. And no matter how you feel about that decision now and whether or not you think it's good or bad for the team, if you go back to when that happened, everyone, including myself, thought that this was the sign that it was over for this team. De'Aaron Fox, there was a lot of trade rumors and talks about him, pressuring the front office into, what are we doing next? Then Mike Brown got fired. I mean, a lot of this stuff, it just felt like things were crumbling around the team. And now the team is on a 5-game winning streak. 2 of those games without De'Aaron Fox, their best player. But I feel like we need to go back when Mike Brown originally got fired because there was some small little things that I saw that kind of reflect what we're seeing today. I want to make it very clear that this isn't a video made to say that Mike Brown getting fired is why the Kings are good now or he's the reason why they were playing so bad. Because once again, we're talking about the Sacramento Kings here, okay? Things can change literally within the span of like 2 weeks. This team can go back to being a bottom feeder, or they can jump all the way up to like 3rd in the fucking West. But let's just real quick go back to that Lakers game right after Mike Brown got fired. This is Doug Christie's first game as the interim head coach. Things are confusing. I didn't expect them to win this game. If anything, I thought they were gonna lose by like a lot more. But one thing that really stood out to me after this game was that in practice the next day, after not only their 6th straight loss, but also their head coach getting fired at what seemed like at the time a desperate attempt to make things work. They were in the practice laughing, making jokes, listening to the music. Not that they don't normally do that, but they were just all having fun. There was a good energy around the practice facility, and I thought that was very interesting. I didn't know what that was about. Was this, Doug and the coaching staff trying to make things seem a little normal and try to, give them some good vibes? Or was this maybe them feeling better with Doug as the head coach? I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to speculate too much on that because there's bigger things to talk about, like the 5-game winning streak that they have and what these games have held. A big conversation is going to be about the Mavericks, 76ers, and Grizzlies games not having their best players. The Mavericks had no Luka Doncic, no Kyrie Irving, I'm pretty sure no PJ Washington or whoever got into that fight with Nurkic. The 76ers didn't have Embiid, and the Memphis Grizzlies didn't have Ja Morant. But if you think that argument works for the Kings, I'm afraid you have never seen a Sacramento Kings basketball game. This team is known for playing down to their opponent, letting some random role player have a 40-game night when their star player is out, and just getting their fucking backs blown out by some bums. I don't care if it's fucking Ja Morant missing the game. I don't care if it looks like their roster from last year and JJ's, what's his name? JJ? What's his name? GG Jackson, not JJ Jackson. I don't know what the hell I was thinking about. But I don't care what kind of roster they have out there. The Sacramento Kings always play down to their opponent. So for them to come into these games and win, and win convincingly, have good games defensively and offensively, shit was weird. It was not expected to see, especially once again, I don't know how many times I have to reiterate this, but after firing their head coach. The big game to me though was when they went up against the Golden State Warriors with Stephen Curry playing, because that was kind of the first star that they were going up against. They won convincingly in that game. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it as much. I was moving into, my new apartment. If you guys want a tour, let me know. But I was moving in here, so I couldn't really watch it, but every now and then I would check the score and just be like, what the fuck is going on? Then tonight, as I'm recording this is right after their game against the Miami Heat, the game that went into double overtime, mind-boggling. And this is a Miami Heat team that needed this win. They just lost by 30-something points to the Utah Jazz the day before. They really needed this win, and you saw it in the game. You saw the hustle. You saw the effort. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but you know what? I don't care about Doug Christie coming in as head coach. I don't care about whatever the hell this team has done. Besides playing Keon Ellis a consistent amount of minutes. If there's one thing that makes me feel like Mike Brown should have been fired, I don't care if he was mean in the locker room. I don't care if he was hard on them as a head coach or he made them play a lot in practice. The fact that he wouldn't give Keon Ellis consistent minutes It makes me want to blow my brains out. Look at how the Sacramento Kings are playing these last 5 games. I guarantee you 90% of these wins are because Keon Ellis is getting consistent minutes, because he is a net positive on every fucking aspect of the floor. And Doug Christie recognizes that. He knows it. He understands it. And this is something that makes me so happy that Doug Christie is the head coach, a defensive player in his own right when he was playing back in, the early 2000s. So he knows what Keon Ellis is able to provide in these games like the Miami Heat game, where he's going into double overtime, playing both ends of the floor, hitting insane clutch threes, coming back on defense, playing game-winning defense. Like, this is shit that the team was not getting for the entire first half of the season. Keon Ellis was getting fucking DNPs. DNP is insane, and that's why Mike Brown doesn't have a job. And once again, I don't want to make this a hate piece around Mike Brown, but there's this one clip from a post-game interview that still sticks with me to this day, and that's after he ran the craziest lineup of the most random fucking NBA 2K generated players, fucking anyone that was on the floor. No disrespect towards those guys, but just guys that don't get playing time, right? He had them play a shit ton of minutes. Keon Ellis barely got any time, or didn't play at all, if I'm not mistaken. Mike Brown goes into the post-game press conference and says, just couldn't find the minutes for Keon. They're just not there. I couldn't find them. I'm going to give Kevin Huerter 1 billion fucking minutes as he's shooting 0 for 6 from 3, but Keon Ellis, can't find it. Can't find it. That was one of the things. That was one of the most frustrating things about it. I will say every single player that they talk to in media says that Doug Christie has simplified the offense, has made things easier for them, has been just a better head coach without kind of saying that just straight up. And that's something that I really think is worth keeping an eye out for. Because if you really want to know my take on the Sacramento Kings right now, this is kind of what I've been telling people, okay? At this point, I have moved past Mike Brown. Even if this team goes on a big losing streak, I feel like Doug Christie being in that position, maybe better for this time. If the locker room still sees the fit for him, then I'm okay with that. But just because we have a new head coach, I don't think this roster is good enough to make anything really happen. Can they have a good rest of the regular season and make the playoffs? For sure. I think that that's a very, good possibility, at least the play-in tournament. But are they going to be a contender? No, it's not going to happen. I know a lot of people have been talking about Cam Johnson as well. I would love to see us get another good wing here. I would love to see us get another backup big. That way Alex Len doesn't have to get any minutes. But those are things that are just completely out of our control. And I know that some people feel like the Kings being good now means that the front office won't put in any work and effort to get better players and make those moves. But I feel like it could be the opposite. I think because they're good now and they see that this core has a solid chance at being something, now is the time where you make those moves. That being said, I didn't really want to ramble, but there's just so much happening with this team right now where it's like, I want to be all in and say, holy shit, they're doing it right now. But then the other half of me is just like, I don't know. It's the Sacramento Kings. You just can't do that. Also, I want to give a lot of credit to Devin Carter. The minutes that he has had for this team have been electric. And whether or not, he's scoring that much, his rebounding is great. And that's one of the big reasons as to why they drafted him. He averaged a shit ton of rebounds in college. His defense has been fun as well. I just like seeing him play. So shout out to Devin Carter. I hope he gets some more minutes. As for their next game, Sacramento Kings will be going up against the Boston Celtics. So I'm not going to be a doomer for that video. You know what? I'm expecting a 20-point loss. If it's anything less than that, then you know what? It's a win to me. It's a great win. But before I end this video, I feel like it's only right I show you guys something from my new apartment, okay? And trust me, it's worth it. Just give me 1 second. All right, let's try this out. That being said, me and the beam, we'll see you guys in the next one. Later.